Hey everyone, Professor Leis here. I want to explain the drawing to read activity for the reading on learning from failure. So, this activity contains about 4 different steps, and it's important that we complete each step in the order that they're listed here. So, the first step, of course, you want to carefully read and annotate on learning from failure. Okay, so when we carefully read and annotate, it means that we are reading with a pen or pencil in our hand and we're underlining ideas that stand out to us as interesting, important, confusing. We're writing things down in the margins, whether those are questions or notes or connections to other readings or ideas that we may have encountered elsewhere. But it's really important that we have a pen or pencil in our hand as we're reading and paying close attention to the ideas that stand out to us for whatever reason. Okay, so that's the first step here. The second step, review the text and your annotations. So what you want to do here is go back and kind of skim over the annotations and the notes that you took on the reading, paying close attention to the ideas that stood out to you, thinking about them. And then what you're going to do is you'll select a passage in the text that stands out to you as interesting, important, confusing, powerful, surprising, and so on. So whatever that may be, whatever section of the reading stands out to you, just make sure that it's something that's interesting or something that you think is important. It could be something that you're confused by, or something that makes you think about something. Whatever it might be, you want to select a short passage from the reading. And so when we use the term passage here, we're talking about just whether that's a single sentence, maybe it's 2 sentences, maybe it's a short paragraph. But you're selecting an area in the reading that stands out to you for whatever reason. Step 3, reread this passage, paying close attention to the images and ideas that appear in your mind when you read. So you'll go back, once you've selected that passage in step 2, you're going to reread this passage. And when you do that, pay attention to the thoughts that go through your mind, whether those are visual thoughts, images, that sort of thing, or ideas that are kind of circulating in your mind that connect to that particular passage for whatever the reason is. But pay attention to what's going on inside your mind. With a pen or pencil, create a drawing of your mental picture of this passage. Your drawing is meant to be a visual interpretation of the ideas in your selected passage. So think carefully about how you will translate your mental image or images of the passage and represent them symbolically or figuratively in your illustration. So what this means, whatever that passage was that you selected that really stood out to you, you're going to then create a visual representation of the ideas that are contained in that particular passage. Now, keep in mind, this can be represented kind of symbolically, so it doesn't necessarily have to be sort of literal drawings of the ideas. They could be more symbolic or figurative in that way. But whatever the case is, you want to make sure that you're creating a visual representation of the ideas that are going through your mind when you read that particular passage that you selected from the reading. Now, this is something really important here. So do not include any page numbers, quotations, or words from the reading in your drawing. Okay, so that's really important. So don't include any page numbers, quotations, or words from the reading in your drawing. Additionally, forget any preconceived notions you have about your artistic talents. Do the best you can to recreate your mental picture in your illustration without judging its artistic quality. So this is also very important. Forget whatever notions you have about how good of an artist you are, right? We're not trying to create a really, I'm at a loss for words here. We're not trying to create something that could be deemed as a high quality piece of art, right? We're not trying to impress anybody with our artistic skills. It's not any kind of competition, who can have the best drawing. That's not what we're doing here. So if you don't think of yourself as much of an artist, that's okay. You can still create some sort of visual representation of the ideas in that passage. So if you need to use stick figures and very rudimentary shapes and lines to do that, that's fine. Others of you might be more confident in your artistic abilities, and so feel free to express that however you're comfortable with, right? But it's really important to not think of this as some sort of competition or you're trying to impress people with your artistic drawing. That's not what we're doing here, okay? Now, alternatively, students may choose to use an audio or video tool in place of an illustration to complete this step. However, make sure not to read your selected passage aloud or include any page numbers or quotations from your passage in your audio or video representation. The purpose is to translate the ideas from the text into another medium. So if you decide that you would prefer not to actually draw, but instead maybe create a brief audio representation or a brief video representation, feel free to do so. However, the same criteria are in place. So again, don't worry about making this as a competition, and also don't include any details in your representation that will give away what the passage is. So again, don't include page numbers, don't include quotations, and don't include any words from the reading in your representation, okay? So step 4, you're going to take a picture of your illustration. So take your phone or some sort of digital camera and capture a photo of your illustration, and then you're going to embed that illustration or that photo into your submission. So what you submit here in Canvas, you're going to embed the image of your representation. You're also going to create a brief written component. So the written component of your submission should include a detailed interpretation or analysis of your selected passage, and it should explain how your illustration represents the ideas explored in your selected passage. So in addition to creating the drawing and including a picture of that drawing, you're going to write a brief paragraph that explains what you think the passage represents, or what you think the passage could mean, or how you're analyzing it, and how that sort of is represented in your illustration. So how do the details in your illustration represent the ideas from the passage? So this should be about a paragraph. So you're going to include when you submit this, you're going to submit a single document, embed the image of your drawing, and then you're going to include a brief paragraph that not only explains what you think the passage means, but also explains how your drawing represents those ideas. Okay? So we're going to use this as a way for us to discuss this particular reading when we meet in our next class session. So again, make sure that you don't include any page numbers or any other details that could give away what the passage is to others. We should not be able to tell what the passage that you selected is by looking at your drawing. That should be a mystery to us. So we're going to use these drawings as a way to discuss the ideas within the passage, and we're going to try to use the drawings and interpret those drawings using evidence from the reading to do so. All right, y'all. Well, if you have any questions, please let me know. Send me a message on Canvas. Otherwise, I'm looking forward to looking at your illustrations and talking about this reading. I'll catch you all later.